Hello there. So, thanks to Entertainment Earth and a case of the Retro Vintage Mandalorian figures, I now have a complete carded set of all the figures. And with the extras, I've got 2 openers. I have my order from Hasbro Pulse coming still, which will give me openers for everything else except for the Remnant Stormtrooper. I'm not going to buy a second Monopoly game for a repainted vintage Stormtrooper. He'll look good on the wall with the complete set here, and then the ones that I have, the rest of them will look good with an opener, and I'll set them out. Not sure where I'm going to put them yet, but I'll figure something out. But I can take a quick look at each of these on the card. When I get the openers in, I will do a review for each figure. And but you know, I'll show you the back real quick. But the back doesn't change on any of them except maybe the order of what these are in. But I'll definitely go more in depth on the ones on these. It's kind of nice to have a Queel. Now we just need one in the vintage collection line. Hopefully, excuse me, with a couple of blurgs. That'll be, excuse me. That'll be kind of interesting if they were able to pull that off. Put a couple of those in the Razor Crest. There's another Cara Dune, which I know people were nervous about getting, thinking that they had canceled it, but nope, they did not. I have shown these 2 already kind of close, so I'll just go this way here. I think I've shown the Remnant Stormtrooper before as well, but and our Moff Gideon. I think it's cool. He comes with a dark saber and our Greef Karga here. And it's nice that they went with the season 2, kind of similar to what they did with the vintage collection version. And I will, once I get an opener, I'll be happy to compare those. So we're going to talk now about the actual figures here of Mando and the Child. I'm going to do this a little different. I'm going to do some comparisons with a modern counterpart and maybe a little bit of a vintage counterpart. So we'll start with Mando here. So let me grab the other ones I want to compare them to, and then we'll start there. All right, so we're going to start with Mando here, and first we'll take a look at the vintage, retro vintage figure here. And again, it's a nice little homage to the vintage figures. I think they did a great job with them. They've got some neat detailing here. Even if you look over here under they've got like the Shore Trooper pauldron that he had before he got his full Beskar suit. And so he's got the vinyl cape. There was a lot of people thinking, well, he should have come out more like the, you know, because where it is in the timeline, it should be after the Return of the Jedi, so it should be more like the Return of the Jedi figures, and his cape should be different. It should be vinyl, because they weren't doing that towards the later waves in vintage. But I disagree. I like the throwback to, you know, the nod to, like, say, like a vintage Vader or Obi-Wan, or even the Jawa if you were really early. So I think I like it. It's not quite pure black. It's kind of a bit of a brown to it. I don't know if it's showing up on the camera, but it's nice. It's thin. I will, comparing it to, say, like my Vader, my vintage Vader, that seems a little thicker than this material, you know, this vinyl that they used here. But it's nice. You know, he's got his 2 weapons. He's got the pistol and the disintegrator rifle here, and he holds them quite well. I was kind of hoping that this was a working holster. It's not. But again, I'm trying to be very careful with this cape. But you know, you see definitely some detail on him. The helmet really looks good. And so comparing him to the first Mandalorian figure we've got, I don't have, you know, I have the one from the build-up pack and Beskar with a little bit of damage. I don't have the clean version yet. It's weird that, you know, you look at somebody like Boss Bounty or a lot of the other, like, you know, reviewers that are in, like, the in Europe or Australia, they've gotten that version already, and we're kind of still waiting around here in the States, but that'll be here soon enough. So again, let's say I'm gonna do a little side by side here. The helmet looks really good. I mean, it looks cleaner on the vintage, but you know, that's fine. And you know, you expect the extra detail on the vintage collection version. And, you know, let's see here if I can just compare his side there. He's got the pauldron there. They didn't paint it different colors like they did here, or the, you know, it's the hip armor. But again, a nice version here. You know, they look pretty close. You know, it kind of looks like, you know, if this was an actual vintage figure from, you know, back in the day when you know, from like around 1985 or whatever, and then they were to update it in the vintage collection line. You know, this is kind of what they would probably look like. Again, they look good. You know, they have a little brighter blue on the knee pad there as opposed to this one, but you know, hey, that is not a problem at all. You know, I like that they actually did all these paint apps. Got the extra ammo or whatever on his boot there. I have it there as well. The different colored, you know, thigh pads there. The belt, even got the belt buckle. And, you know, the shoulder strap there. The chest armor. Again, just looks great. And there's just, you know, again, really nice look for that. Now, if we're going to compare him to an actual vintage figure, I guess the closest would be the only other Mandalorian we got in the vintage days, which is Boba Fett. And so, you know, as far as the helmets, you know, they definitely, you know, this would be kind of, you know, this came out in 79, which, you know, the vintage started in 78. And, but, you know, still, you know, I mean, you look at the detail on this figure. I mean, it's, you know, really good for its day, and yeah. But, you know, he didn't come with a cape, you know, like this one does, but that's not a huge deal. But good detail. You know, look at the knee armor there, and you know, his boots are different, but that's fine. Yeah, and weapons are different, but that's fine too, you know. But yeah, I know, I've said it before, I know this is not the weapon that comes with Boba Fett, but you know, nine-year-old me, or I should say 10-year-old me, there was a mail away set in the vintage collection. It was like an equipment pack that you could get, and it came with a bunch of different rifles, like this rifle, the shorter one that that came with the Hoth Rebel Soldier, or this Hoth, you know, Rebel Commander. Came with a few of those extra rifles. Some of the gas masks that you got in the that came in the Rebel Transport. It also had a blue backpack, which I still have, that you could put Yoda in for Luke. You know, and you know, that was a staple on my Dagobah playset, and so it was kind of neat. But so I had this extra rifle, and I was like, you know, I just wanted to kind of give him a better rifle, and so I gave him this because he can, you know, I could have it out of his hand, and he could carry it like this, you know, slung over his shoulder. And I just wanted him to have something other than a standard Stormtrooper blaster. So, and I've just kind of kept it that way because that's just the way I like it. And but so anyway, so comparing them to, I thought it was kind of neat, just kind of do something a little different and compare him to his the only closest vintage figure he's got. I won't be able to do this with all of them. Excuse me. You know, but like Cara Dune or Grief Karga, it's not like they have a character in the vintage that they're similar to. I'll think about it, but I don't think they do. And but I have other figures, obviously they're modern counterparts they can be compared to, so I'll take care of that. So that covers Mando here, and so now I'm going to take a look at the child, and so let me get that set up. Okay, so here we have the Retro Vintage the child, along with the two other versions from the vintage collection. We've got the one from the build-up pack that came with the Mandalorian, and then his single carded release with the hover pram. And I'll tell you, the first thing you can tell is that this guy here is huge. He towers over the two, more detailed releases here, which is nuts, but hey, it's amazing. I actually wanted to compare him. I haven't actually done this yet, but this is the Black Series version, so he's in to scale with the 6-inch figures, and he's actually even, wow, he's bigger than the Black Series version. That's incredible. Well, maybe just a hair, but it's pretty much, whoops, kind of similar size there, but maybe just a touch taller. And it's hard to tell while I'm holding them. I'm sorry. It kind of looks like it there, but let me see if I can. If I do it like, put them both in one hand here. Yeah, not exactly scientific here, but maybe just a touch taller than even the Black Series version. Well, that's interesting. Oh, he's got his one peg hole here. A bit of a, salt pepper shaker. He's got his arms here. And his head does turn. It's a little stiff because I haven't really moved it. But, really good figure. I like him. And compared to the teeny tiny little 7-card release is the only other one I have with a peg hole. And then the little build-up pack version. Wow, I just can't get over how much taller he is. And then even with the single card release, they each come with a frog, a little snack, and even this frog is huge compared to the release there. So, they didn't just throw another one in there. They actually made it almost, this one is actually like a stiffer plastic too compared to this one. I don't know. But again, it's kind of neat that they added it. And so you have two different hover. Let's look at this hover pram real quick. Again, it's a much bigger one for the vintage. It comes with a little stand. This all comes apart, but you get a little base here, and then this piece goes in there, and then that goes in just like that. And it's got a two-tone interior. It's nice. Everything fits in there very well. And then you have this lid here. If you see, there's this little ridge here. This fits up against nicely and locks into place. And so I got your nice your little egg there for him. And there's plenty of room, like I said, to put him in here. And our little Grogu. And this will, whoops. It's a little tall. You gotta kind of keep him away from where the seam is here. Sorry, I should. Well, you can just lay him down too. But fits in there with plenty of room. It's your nice little floating egg for your little guy. I've noticed I've been kind of like displaying the other one open so you can see him, you know, so you can see him sitting in there. This, yeah, so it fits well. Let me put that over here for now, and you know, comparing it to this one, obviously the vintage collection is much, you know, you can see it's much smaller. Let's see here, and but this one has got a lot more. I mean, I like the detail on this for as a retro vintage. It's nice. You know, you wouldn't want this level of detail in it because the vintage, as much as I love my vintage figures, you know, they were my childhood toys. They do not have the level of detail that, say, the modern vintage collection line has. And so you have all this detail in here for this, as well as, you know, this seals up nicely as well. Now looking at a comparison figure, obviously for Baby Yoda in the vintage line would be actual Yoda. What? That was the only, you know, thing you can think. There's again. I know I got his orange snake somewhere. I had lost the cane long ago, you know, playing outside with my figures as a kid. But, you know, like I said, still in good shape. I mean, this is the original Yoda I ever had. And, you know, well loved. Spent a lot of time training Luke, and then later on, you know, playing after Return of the Jedi. This was my stand-in Force Ghost figure for him. And then, you know, but geez, yeah, definitely not quite modeled off the Yoda figure, is he? Which is fine. I mean, they're obviously two different characters, but the same with the Boba Fett and the Mando from before. But I figured, you know, this is the closest thing in the actual vintage line we would have to something like this. But kind of neat to show them there. Now, so they both stand just about as well. Look at that. I just put them right down. Good to go. But, you know, that's, again, because I have, you know, I know a lot of people that are really into the retro vintage line. Some not so much, and that's fine, whichever you want. I'm one that I didn't want to get any of the retro vintage because, you know, I have my vintage toys. It wasn't just something that really just appealed to me. I mean, I like them plenty, you know, and you know, I think they look great. But again, I was just not that interested in the line myself. But when they came out with a Mandalorian specific one, something about them, I'm kind of a sucker for this one because, you know, they didn't make these, with the exception of possibly the Stormtrooper, you know, when I was a kid. So, you know, obviously because it didn't exist that long ago. But I'm glad they did this. You know, it's just kind of a neat little nod to vintage, and it's just different enough. And so I couldn't resist. So I'm glad I got my entire carded set, and now I'm waiting for Hasbro Pulse to give me the rest so I can have openers for everybody, and that should make a nice display. Like I said, not 100% sure where I'll put them, but, you know, it's kind of the curse of people who have been collecting. It's space. I mean, heck, just check my room tour. But that's pretty much it for this one. I hope you enjoyed the video and my review and kind of a little different look on these figures. So, you know, again, thank you so much for watching. And it would be appreciated, you know, for you to do your part. You know, if you're not subscribed, please hit the little subscribe button down there. I'd appreciate it. I'd love to have you as part of the community I'm trying to grow here. And, you know, if you liked it, please leave a like. give me a comment. Did you get have you gotten the first 2 waves of Retro Vintage as well as the Mandalorian? Did you just go with these? Did you skip this because they weren't, figures from the vintage line? Yeah, I'm just kind of curious. Everybody collects differently, and, it's always kind of nice to have those conversations. So that's pretty much it for now. So again, thank you so much for watching, and this is the way.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always. The Force will be with you.